I am back. I know it's been a long time since I've made a video. I feel like I've just been putting it off and waiting for the right moment, and I was like, let me just set up my camera and let's get into it. We're gonna do a quick check-in of where I'm at. Obviously, I'm in a new space. I'm living with Ryan now. And then I'm also going to work on my calendar for the month of October. I got some like new markers, which I'm really excited about. Gonna kind of organize myself while I answer questions that you guys submitted on living in New York City. Even though I live in Jersey City now, I figured I would answer some of them, especially since I'm still working in the city. So if you're not new, welcome back. If you are new, my name is Casey. I started with Instagram and with TikTok at the Casa Verde. I did mostly home decor, and now I kind of do lifestyle and share little bits of my life. I've been dealing with a lot of change and transition right now. So I moved into Ryan's apartment and we did a really fun like revamp of the space to make it feel more like our own. We really love it. I'm so happy here and things have been going really well. And I've also been really focused on my job. I work in social media, I work in morning television, and I love it so much. And I've kind of just been jumped into that full speed ahead. So I have been pretty tired and haven't had a lot of time to work on my hobby and do stuff like this, but I'm so excited to be making a video today and to be catching up with you all. So let's get into it. Okay, so we moved to the kitchen counter so that I can have some space. This is the calendar. I just picked this up at Target and I'm so excited to just fill it out with my whole month of October plans. And then I also got this at Marshall's for $5. I saw a girl on her TikTok fill her markers inside of one of these, and I love that it spins. I shared this on Instagram and I was truly just, it's the little things for me. Marcella and I had read something about being high maintenance but easy to please. And I feel like that is me to a T. Like I have my skincare routine, I'm a Virgo, so I feel like I have my list of things that I like to do, but something as simple as like a spinning marker holder just brings me pure joy. Okay, so what I love about this planner is that it's not by the year. You like circle what month it is and you write in the days yourself. So I feel like I could use this next year too. It comes with like 18 pages. So I'm really excited. And I like that it's just like simple. So I think for the calendar, I'm gonna go with this bucket because it feels the most like fall October colors. And I might throw in some like greens in there too. I'm so excited. I also picked this little thing up at Target that I thought was so cute. It's a to-do list. I love a list and I love writing things down. I miss writing things down. Did anyone else, like when I was younger, we used to go to the Scholastic book fair. Did everyone go to those? The Scholastic book fair. And you would go and everyone would buy books. Like I was in the highlighter section. I was in the magic eraser section. Like I was looking at the stationery from second grade. Like I just love a good stationery. So to me, this feels therapeutic and I feel like it makes my month feel less like a list of responsibilities and more like, look how fun this is. Maybe I'm crazy. Anywho, as I mentioned on Instagram, I asked you guys a long time ago for questions on living in New York City when I still lived in New York City. And so I'm finally getting around to answering those. And for those of you that are new and don't know, I've lived in New York City for around 7 years. Most of the years in Brooklyn, I've kind of hopped around. I've moved a lot. I have a video on all the places I've lived. And then now I'm currently in Jersey City, but I still commute into the city to like go to work and meet up with friends and all that. Okay, so first question, what are your favorite and least favorite things about living in New York City? I think one of my favorite things of living in New York is just how easy it is to walk everywhere. And I just love walking in New York. Like if I'm just heading home from work, I'll take the longer way to get to the longer train because you never know what you're going to come across. And I just feel like it's so nice to be able to walk everywhere. I remember when I first moved to New York, I was from Florida. So I had like flip-flops and like ballerina flats. Like I had blisters every day. So if you are moving here and you're planning on walking everywhere, because you most likely are going to, invest in a good pair of sneakers. Another thing that I love about New York City is just being a part of traditions. The Rockefeller tree lighting, the Thanksgiving Day parade, like it feels like there's so much like tradition and history in the city where I live and work, which is cool. You really can't beat the feeling of Christmas in the city, wherever you are, in Brooklyn and Jersey City and New York, and it really is so magical. And then I think my last one is one of my favorite and least favorite things, which is just that living in the city really challenges you. I think that I've learned so much about myself here, even involuntarily. I lived in my tiny studio on the Upper East Side for most of the pandemic. Like, even that in itself was a challenge. But I'm really grateful for all of the experiences that I've had here. Okay, now on to the least favorite things. I think that running errands will always be top of the list if you ask anyone who's lived in New York for any period of time. I wish I could just like pull up to a Target and load it up with things and then head home. In this past year, Marilyn, my old roommate, that feels so weird to say, my roommate, my close friend, she bought one of those little like carritos, like the carts that the old ladies take around in New York. And so she would like fill that up and we'd take that home. But for the most part, you're just like on your own, like carrying things home. If you find furniture on the street, you're carrying it. It's a lot. It's a hustle. I think another one of my least favorite things was just moving so often. And this didn't bother me as much in the beginning, but I think now the older that I've gotten, the more things that I've acquired, it's just gotten more and more exhausting to move. Not to mention it's insanely expensive every time. But you really can't predict what's gonna happen in your apartment when you sign your lease. You don't know if they're gonna raise it $1,500 like they did in a place that Marcella, Marilyn and I were at. You don't know if they're gonna raise it at all. But unless you're in a rent stabilized apartment, which those are really hard to come by, finding a place where you can stay for a really long time, like there's no guarantees in New York. Okay, I numbered all of the days. And I think I'm gonna stick to the black pen, just like writing all of the things in black and then like highlighting them with the markers. Since they're like watercolor markers, they don't bleed. Can you see that? They don't bleed and I can just kind of highlight over them. So I'll probably do like trips in one color and like expenses in another color. Make expenses fun. Okay, next question. How did you make friends when you first moved to New York City? So I think I was in a very unique case that I was really lucky to have. But when I moved to New York, I did like a post-grad internship with the Cooking Channel and Food Network and like made great connections there. And then I applied to the Page program at NBC and I did that. And I gained the majority of my friends through that. It was kind of like college part 2. There were like 24 of us in our cohort and we spent almost every waking moment together working at this company. And so I just formed a lot of really great friendships and 2 of my best friends in the city I got from that program. So I think it was just really great. I was, again, in a really unique situation, but I think so many people find friendships in other ways. I know that there are like social groups in the city. I've joined one of them before where you play like kickball once a week or you play pinball once a week. Like there's different types and you can meet a lot of people that way. Meeting people through work. I've heard of girls who do Bumble BFF. So there's just a lot. You will find your people. Next, apartment hunting tips. This is probably the question that I get asked the most in my DMs, in my comments, everywhere. And it's probably because, like I said, I've moved so many times. Every time that I've moved, I've used StreetEasy, which is an app. You can go to it on your computer too. And you can filter based on what your budget is, the areas that you're looking for, everything like that. And it shows you pretty much all of the apartments that are available according to your filters. And then it'll list a broker's name and information and you can reach out to them. Like I said, I had lived in New York for 7 years and the competition, like the competitiveness of apartments has only gotten crazier and crazier. For one of the apartments that Marcella, Marilyn, and I applied to, we were outbid on like a rental apartment. Like people are bidding, which is so bizarre to me. I think if you can swing it, trying to move in the less popular months, the summer is usually the most popular, but I think moving in like November, December, if you can swing something like that, it's a lot less competitive and the prices aren't usually as bad. But in terms of on StreetEasy itself, these brokers get tons of messages. So you really want to set yourself apart and not do just the automatic like, hi, I want to view this unit. Like I'm usually like, hi, my name is Casey. This is what I'm looking for. I'm available on these days. Let me know. And I always make sure to ask if the pictures that are listed are of the actual unit. When I first started looking in New York, I can't tell you the amount of times that I was catfished. Like they'll have these beautiful photos of a brick wall and a fireplace and you show up and it looks nothing like what's on there. And especially in New York, like you're running all over the place, commuting, taking multiple trains. You want to make sure that wherever you're going to actually looks like what you think it's going to look like. Oh, my mom's calling. It's Abuela's birthday. Happy birthday to you. Te quiero, Mimi. Ooh. Bye. Love you. Okay, so I think that that's another one of my least favorite things of living in New York. So all of my family lives in Miami. I'm the only one that lives somewhere else. And I think it's always sad during these big moments. Today is Abuela's 97th birthday. I'm super close to my Abuela. So having to FaceTime in for those moments instead of being there in person is always really tricky. But my family is so supportive of me. They're so proud of me. Like everyone that my mom meets, she's like, my daughter lives in New York. Like she works in New York. Now back to the apartment hunting tips. So on top of everything that I already said, I think that for me, location is a top priority. So that's something that I'm not really willing to like negotiate on. Like you just really want to check out the location that you're living in and make sure that you love it. I think especially in New York where you live, you're going to spend so much time in. And I make it a priority to visit the neighborhood that the apartment is in, not only during the day, but also at night. You want to make sure that you feel safe. How far is the walk from the train? Anything like that. Okay, next question. How did you find roommates? So I feel I've had a couple of different roommate situations, and some were luckier than others. I think that my last roommates, Marilyn and Marcella, was such a special, like when I look back, when I'm old and I tell people about when I lived in Brooklyn with my best friends, like I know that I'll look so fondly on that, and I know that I'll be best friends with them my whole life. Like I know that in my heart. And I know that people aren't so lucky to have those situations. I met most of my roommates through mutual friends. So for when I first moved here, there was one other girl who moved here from the same college that I did, and we didn't know each other very well, but we were both moving here. We knew each other. She had a mutual friend, and so the three of us ended up living together. So just ask around. Make sure that you let people know, especially if you're moving after college or anything like that. I also really recommend the app Roomy. It's ROOMI, and that's how Marilyn and Marcella met each other. And I knew Marilyn through Miami, so then the three of us kind of connected. And the new roommate that Marilyn and Marcella have, we found through Roomy. And they really love her. She's really sweet and lovely, and I feel like there's just a lot of good options on there, and it feels a little more like smaller and intimate, I guess, than just like posting a big thing on Facebook or on TikTok or anything like that. I feel like all I'm doing is talking and not writing. It's hard to write and like speak at the same time. Look at that, we have one thing done, hanging with Ricky and Steph. This has been like 30 minutes. So I'm gonna put Ryan's birthday in here. His birthday is October 10th. 10/10, so it already happened. I surprised him with like a little, we went to this really cool cocktail bar in Brooklyn. I'll actually add a photo of it here. It was called Sunken Harbor Club, and it was so cool. It looked like you were in a ship. It's like really, really small. They take limited reservations. We just showed up right when it opened at 5 p.m. and they were able to seat us like right away. So I highly recommend it. It was really fun. Okay, Casey, stop getting distracted. Next question. Do you ever find NYC overwhelming? If so, what do you do in those moments? Absolutely. I find it overwhelming maybe 80% of the time. I think that in order to move here, you definitely have to be someone that likes the hustle and bustle and the movement. I think that's another thing that like with age, she says with age, I just turned 30, but I feel like with age, I used to like love the hustle and bustle, and now I'm a little more like, okay, like after work, I'm like, get me on the train, get me to Jersey City so I can like relax and not have as much going on. When I'm in the city and I'm feeling overwhelmed, I like to wear headphones and put on my rom-com playlist. If you know me, you know that I love rom-coms, and I just love like scores and soundtracks from rom-coms. So I'll usually put that in my headphones. I don't do noise canceling so I can be aware of my surroundings still, but it makes me feel like I'm in a movie, and it just brings me a little bit of peace amongst the chaos. Okay, the next question is it ever scary? And yes, I think that living in a city, living in any city, honestly, can be scary. Living anywhere can be scary. I think something that I've really learned from living here is to just be hyper aware of my surroundings. I am always on alert. When I'm standing at the subway platform, I always stand where there are people. I'll stand farthest away. I don't like to be near the tracks. When the train is pulling in, I will like look in. I remember one of the tips that someone told me when I first moved to New York. They said if a train car in New York is empty, it's empty for a reason. It's not empty because you can go in and have a seat and everything. No, it's too good to be true. So I always like to look at my surroundings even before I get into a subway car. I try to get into the car that has the conductor as well. When I'm walking, I'm always paying attention to my surroundings. If there's something going on, an altercation or something like that, I'll cross the street. I'll go in the opposite direction. And this is a personal preference. I don't take the subway at night. I usually, if I'm out somewhere late, if it's for work, I can usually expense an Uber, or I will just buy the Uber myself. I know that a lot of people don't have the luxury to like, you know, be buying $40 Ubers. So I know that I'm really lucky in that aspect. But I think if you can, just try to commute with someone so that you're not by yourself, and just follow your like spidey senses, like follow your gut reaction. If you feel like something's not right in the moment, like hop on the phone with someone, go in a different direction. Don't question your gut, you know? Okay, next one is how often do you eat out versus cook? So I think when I first moved here, I was eating out a lot more because I wanted to experience it all. I wanted to try all the pop-ups and all the new food. And it's true, the food really is very good in New York. I always told Marcella one of the best gifts she could have given me was to learn to love to cook. I think that Ryan and I have the most fun and are the most satisfied when we have a craving for something and we make it at home. I just love it. I love cooking at home now, so I eat in a lot more. And the only times when I really eat out are if I'm meeting up with friends. And that makes it more fun too, because then it's like an occasion, I'm catching up with a friend, let's go try this new spot. Okay, next question is, how is it when it snows? Gorgeous. Like, it's like I said, the magic hasn't worn off even, but I will say I'm from Florida, so I had never lived somewhere where it snowed before, and it's still magical every single time. Like, I feel like a kid on Christmas morning when it snows. Like, my face is glued up against the window and I'm like, look at the snow. But after the first snowfall, once the snow has been on the ground for a while, it does get really gross. Like it gets icy and dirty. Obviously you're in a city, there's a bunch of foot traffic. It gets like muddy everywhere. So that's another thing. Make sure that you invest in a good pair of boots. When I first moved here, I had like an Ugg, like just Uggs with like the fuzz, and they got destroyed. I currently have a pair of children's Timberlands and those are my snowshoes. So maybe get something a little better than that, but they work. Okay, and then the last question is, how long do you see yourself living here? A loaded question, honestly. And the answer to that is really, I'm not sure. Okay, my camera died during the last bit of that, but I'm back. I had some lunch, I finished my calendar, and now we're back. I'm sorry that I didn't show more of the calendar. I feel like I need to work with the angles better. And also it just has like our flight information and like my entire life on there, so I don't want to show it to the camera. But like I said, get yourself some like fun markers and stickers and write everything down. I put on like some nice music. I made myself a fun little drink. It doesn't look nice, but I put in, it's like a strawberry mango tea bag. Very delicious. It's from Good and Gather, like the Target brand. Anyways, back to your question. How long do I see myself living here for? I don't know. I have no idea. I think that I'm working on just like being present and focusing on the now. I am a planner, but I think I have the tendency to like plan out every aspect of my life, whereas sometimes I think you just need to be present and enjoy where you are now. And I think that Ryan and I are very much enjoying being in our little Jersey City apartment, the first apartment that we're going to be living together in. And I'm really happy here. So we'll see where things take us next, and I'm excited to find out. But thank you so much for sticking around for this little catch up. It was so nice to just like make content and chat and catch up. Like I said, I'm gonna try my best to make more content. But honestly, I think it's so important to just like listen to yourself and just go with the wave of where things are meant to go. So hopefully I'll see you guys soon, and thanks so much for tuning in.